acknowledge that I'd like to acknowledge that we are here in Alberta, are on the traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have lived and gathered on these lands for centuries. We are grateful for the opportunity to live, work, and create on this land. So today's order today, we did not finish order of operations. We didn't even get it started on Tuesday. So we thought we would spend the first part of today's session doing that. Then we'll talk about using manipulatives. And because we probably will run out of time today, we thought what would be best is we did fraction support using manipulatives, putting it all together at the end. Also, we asked you yesterday to think about what are some of your sessions that you would like us to provide for you so that we help you out in the future. And we'll ask you that question at the end of today's time. So,
Yunana, we didn't include a slide today for introduction because I think by today, most people would know us, and if there is anybody that's new, I'm Betty Morris, math learning facilitator with ERLC, and
I'm Yulana Seletsky, and I'm coming to you from ERLC also, but I'm in my basement right now, and my wall behind me is from IKEA. Because I've actually had people ask me, where'd you get that wall? Like,
yeah, I did.
It's from IKEA, but I didn't buy it from IKEA. I bought it from Kijiji or Marketplace or something because someone else had it and was getting rid of it. Anyway, let's get started here. And do you remember this slide from day one? From day one, we said, when you think of teaching math in the fall, where do you place yourself? The first one is like, wow, I can't even think about it. And 5 is, yeah, I can handle this. I've got it all done. And again, I'd like to do the waterfall effect. So I'd like you to put your 1 to 5 into the chat, but don't press go until we give everyone an opportunity to put their number in. So let's count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Isn't that interesting? Okay, we still have some 1s and 2s, and that kind of says to me, Betty, we have some work cut out for us, and that we need to find out from these people, what is it that you would like more support on? That would be something like, I'm not gonna call any of you out, but I just want you to think about it. What is it that you would like some more support on? Because we are redoing this session in August, and maybe there's some stuff that we can add in or change up a bit for the August session. And if that helps you, then you can come back. Okay.
And I think the comment is well said, because it depends on the topic. So I'm taking from that sometimes in some areas you're more comfortable, and there's some areas where you still want some support, and those are the ones maybe you can suggest to us and we can focus on. Yeah, it depends on the topic.
And ladies, allow me just to bring in that provincial perspective, because I just want to remind everyone, this is a provincial ARPDC. So when they make the requests to these ladies, those requests are provincial, and things can be done in different regions of the province as well. So let's, keep that in mind as we're collecting this, that we will have a provincial series next year, put on by these ladies and the rest of the math team to continue to support you throughout the year as well.
And I have to tell you, the provincial math team is just outstanding. I am so honored to work with the ladies that I'm working with. I learn so much from them all the time. And I do have a slide at the end that will tell us who the people are across the province.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. No, it is a great team, Yulana. One of the other comments that I think that sparked another great topic is we have a new teacher, a brand new teacher. So right now everything is, and I think the comment was confidence. So that kind of gives us an idea that maybe we could consider sessions that for new teachers, because everything is new to you, not just the curriculum, everything. So well said, very well said. We have someone who's raised their hand.
Oh yeah, that was me. That was my comment about being a new teacher. So I just graduated in May. And then
Congratulations.
I saw this and I'm not confident in math to begin with. So I thought it would be a great one for me to attend. But I do think there is merit in that. And I know like from people in my cohort that we are interested in learning more. So if you held a session like that, I'm sure people would come.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's
awesome. Idea. That excites me. That really excites me.
That's a really good idea. That's a good lead in, Kaylin, to my next slide. There. I didn't put the title for this next session, which is order of operations. And the title that you had seen at the beginning on Tuesday was taking a deeper dive. One of the things that we wanted to do this week is we kind of did a broad overview of the curriculum and the Learn Alberta site. And then we wanted to take certain particular concepts, learning outcomes that were probably going to be new to some of you. Everything is new, but new to specifically to grade 4, 5, and 6, and just talk about what those concepts were and how they span across the grades, and say, kind of taking that deeper look into it. Which leads me to say, one of the things that these next slides that you're going to see, excuse me, some of you who have attended my sessions in the spring may have seen them already, so I apologize. So this will be kind of a review. I did change up a few, but in the spring when I started to do the sessions, I do them by grade, by organizing idea, and by learning outcome. And the purpose of these sessions and these next slides that you're going to see, and that reflects on this slide, the content of the slides that you're looking at, is these sessions are more for teacher understanding. I have a real passion for the teacher understanding the math, and there's so much that's new. As somebody well said the first day, so much of the junior high has come down. But when you as a teacher have that intuitive understanding of the mathematics, when you work with the students, when you deal with the learning, you are better than equipped to see misconceptions, misunderstandings, strengths, what they can do. And if you have to re-explain anything, you have you are better able to do that when you have this, as I said, this really good understanding. So my bent has always been, I say learning first, but that is teacher focused, then the teaching and learning for the students. And then of course we go full circle, we can have learning again. So, and at the end, you'll see a slide that talks about the sessions that will happen in the fall. I am going to repeat these sessions, but the focus when you look at these slides is for you, to make sure that you have a good, internal understanding of the concept. So what I said here is, when we read our curriculum, we read it through the lens of what we value, what we understand, and our own personal experiences. And again, and this is for those of us who are seasoned. What's important to us? What do we feel comfortable with? And so those are the things we kind of hold on to because we feel confident in them. And sometimes what we end up doing, I'm not saying all the time, is we end up valuing the skill or the procedure or the knowledge, but we have to remember the understanding as well and the reasoning. So that's, and the understanding is going to come for you through looking at the math through your lens as a learner. So, and that's the last comment. One of the most important things we can do as math teachers is to constantly deepen our understanding of the concepts our students are learning. So I'm only going to give you a little bit today. You're not going to get the full, this is for order of operations, it's usually a full session, but I'm just going to give you bits and pieces so you can see what you're going to be faced with and why it's going to be important for you to really understand the math behind what you're the learning and the teaching. This is, we're doing order of operations. It's under algebra. So these are the organizing ideas for grade 4, 5, and 6. So across we're looking at, and we're only looking at the first cluster, and you'll see that in a minute. Not the whole.
Can you just hold on for a second? Because there really is a good question here
Okay.
from Melanie. And Melanie asks, like, how realistic is it that we're going to cover the entire curriculum, like, for example, in grade 5 or 6, for any student who didn't even do it in grade 4?
Oh.
And you know what? These are just personal opinions. I don't think you will be able to cover it all.
Yeah.
Don't even try.
Yeah.
You're going to have to look at the learning outcome, the overarching thing, questions across the top, which Betty has here at the top, and see how can I do this, and which ones do I think need to be covered. You won't be able to do it all.
Right, right.
But that's personal.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. The other important thing to do is when you see this here, if you're a grade 5 and 6 teacher in particular, and there is already prior knowledge that's required of these students, you have no choice but to go back. And that just supports what Yolana's saying. So you're not going to finish because you do want to do a good job rather than try to, kind of focus on that, just the grade 5. You're going to have to go back to grade 4, grade 6 is back to grade 5, and spend that quality time with them to get them to understand, because that's only going to help the students. I've been away from the districts for a while, so I don't know anything about mandates and, what's required, but I think the focus is on the student learning and you want them to get it. So, yeah, I agree.
And
It is-
the
it
other
is
thing
really
is
tough.
there a PAD exam? And the answer is, the word on the street is yes, there is. But you know what? That has no reflection on you. And you need to remember that all the time. That has no reflection on your teaching. And you need to know that across the entire province, the results are not going to be good. So you need to remember that.
Right. Now, having said that, and that was one of my former jobs is looking at the PATs. I'm really surprised that they're even having them. I do have an email in to the director, and I think that's something that principals and districts need to do is get the right information. I know that they're just starting to develop the items for those, but maybe they're only doing part of it, or it's not going to count. I'm not sure, but we need to get that information.
And like Kathy says, we need to be kind to ourselves. But anyway, please, let's get moving with the because we won't get through them. This is the hands-on stuff. This is diving deeper into the curriculum. So let's do this.
Okay, so this is where I am. Yeah. Okay. So what I have here for you for the next 3 grades is a very, very broad overview of what you're going to be doing. So these kind of visuals will help you. And if you look at the green part in grade 4, and it says these are only the main components or learnings. So in grade 4, and these are just reworded from the cusps and the learning outcome, grade 4s are going to focus on numerical expressions, and we're going to talk about what they are, order of operations, 2 operations, and they're going to evaluate them. And then the other piece that we're not going to be doing is the equation. So they'll do numerical expressions, and then they're going to do equations. They're not working with algebraic expressions at all in grade 4. So that red part, those were all, Tammy spoke about the preservation of equality yesterday. So that's the red piece. That is a separate session. In grade 5, oh, I don't know why it's not moving. In grade 5, you can see it's a little bit more in depth. Again, these are only the main components. There are other cusps to support it, but you can see that pattern that's happening here. So on the left, we have the numerical expressions, which we're going to talk about today. Parentheses are introduced, and they're going to evaluate. So you can see that there's some very, very much some commonalities. Then grade 5 gets into algebraic expressions. with all of those little points underneath, and then they do equations as well. And then grade 6, the same thing. Numerical expressions again, order of operations, exponents are introduced, and we're not looking at anything like, 3 to the 5th, the power of 5, or to the power of 6, or exponent 6. We're not looking at anything like that. You're going to be mainly dealing with squares and cubes. And then again, evaluate. And then algebraic expressions again for grade 6, and then looking at equations. So this will help you to see at a very high level what that pattern is. Now, the next slide I'm going to show you is the same one, and you're going to get these slides, so you'll be able to see this. This comes in, this is to help you when you receive those, because there is a color coded. There was too much on the next page for me to put the color of the bullets. We're only going to focus on the orange ones, the order of operations and numerical expressions, but you're going to see the blue is algebraic, or the turquoise, and the green is equation. So this is a little bit more busy, but this shows you, I started this from grade 3. So as they come into, and I'm going to focus on the orange ones, as they come into grade 3, from grade 3, now it says they have to know their basic facts 10 by 10. If they don't know them, you're going to continue to work on them all the way through. Then again, we're looking at grade 4, order of operations with no parentheses. They're going to do all 4, but we're only looking at very basic, like you can see on the next one down, 3 times 6 plus 2. We're going to start maybe with 6 plus 2. I'm going to talk about the fact that we're not, because this is a numerical expression, we're not talking about equations, so we're not going to use the equal sign at this point with the students. We're going to talk about the value of what this expression is. And then they're going to create numerical expressions, and then they're going to evaluate numerical expressions. And in grade 3, I did put it as orange because in grade 1, a teacher puts the number 12 on the whiteboard, or has the students put the number 12 on a piece of paper, and then they say, tell me all the ways that you can show me 12. And so they put 6 plus 6, 11 plus 1. They're already doing numerical expressions, even though the teacher doesn't say that. So I struggle with a little bit the fact that the algebra does not start sooner in this new curriculum. I think it starts, they show it that starting at grade 3, or even, grade 3. So even though I have you can see I put the green dot for the equal. That's to show you that they do work with these equations, but so many times. Tell me the number of ways you can do this. And then again, in grade 4, we're looking at creating them, and we're looking at evaluating them. And then grade 5, we're looking at evaluating expressions again with multiple operations, but this time with parentheses, but only addition and subtraction in the parentheses. Now, it could be 3 times parentheses 2 plus 1, but only with those in there. And then grade 6, we continue on, and we start with the powers, so that they would do 2 squared, 3 squared, and so on, with parentheses as well. I'm going to say this up front, that's positive about this. I know it's all brand new to you, but what I find is positive as we get going with this. We used to teach order of operations in 1 grade all at once. And so we focused on this. I really like the fact that it starts in grade 4 and it builds up. So the grade 4 students will become comfortable with the order of operations and working with 2 or 3 operations at once with no parentheses, and then build and then build. So I think eventually it's actually going to be a good thing. And then the other, I won't go into the other one, the other colors, but that shows you the algebraic expressions, which is the turquoise, and where that goes into grade 5 and 6, and then all, of course, the equations. I'll just go to the next one. Okay, so all I'm going to show you in this one is the order of learning. I'm not going to talk about bedmas or pedmas or bodmas or anything like that. This is the order, the way that the students will learn it, and it starts from the bottom up. So in grade 4, they are going to learn to do multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. They will know that there is a rule and an order that multiplication and division is first, and it's in your cusps, left to right, whichever comes first, and then the parentheses, and then the exponents. So that's the order of learning. And this is the particular learning outcome and the cusps that go with it. And there you can see on the left the knowledge statements The conventional order of operation is a set of rules for evaluating expressions, not solving. We evaluate expressions and solve equations. And there it shows multiplication and division. And so we say to the students, there are rules when we follow the procedure for evaluating an expression. And then the understanding that there are infinitely many expressions that represent the same number. And as I said to you earlier, they start that in grade 1. They don't call it that, but it's already started. And there's so many ways, expressions for one number, and the order performed can affect the value. That's critical. And I'm going to show you some examples with that. And so there again, we have grade 4, you evaluate the expressions and you create the expressions. You can see in the box, I put those extra notes. The vocabulary is critical for this. And I'm going to show you some examples in a minute. And Tammy spoke about that yesterday. So for yourself, as I said, these sessions are for you. And anything, the ideas, of course, you'll take and use with your students, but you need to become very familiar with those expressions. Now, these particular definitions, I took them from a site that I use quite a bit, and it's situated at the bottom. But whether you use anchor charts and put them up, it's very important for you to understand the difference between expression. Then an expression is general, because we have an algebraic expression and a numerical expression. What a numerical expression is opposed to an algebraic and an equation. And then what does evaluate mean? I'm going to say this to you though, because it's something, again, for me, using this is an American website. So, and it's really great, but you have to be so careful of the grades, similar to what Yolanda said about Graham Fletcher. You have to be very, very careful, but it does have a generic list where you go and look up the word, and then you can go to the particular grade. This is based on Marzano and his vocabulary analysis. So it's very well done. The only thing is, and I'll point that out right now, if you're anywhere like a math nerd, like some of us are, you see the word expression and it says the word phrase. And then you see the word numerical expression, that definition, and it says the word statement. A numerical expression is not a statement. It's not a mathematical statement. So be careful of those words. Not that that's not something that you're going to dwell on with your students, but just be careful and use the word expression with them. And I said to teachers, after you get into it, and if you do anchor charts or word walls or an experience, use that word. You need to model it and talk about it. I just want to show you, this is totally not anything to do with what we're doing, but this is what this site looks like. And what we've started to do, some teachers, is they take this and they print it into cards. This is parallelogram. I want to show you something visual, but all of these that you see on this previous page are in these 3-part foldables. And so you have the term with the visual, and then you have the term with the definition. So that's you, and you'll get that site. So these are just some thoughts for you right now. Students are going to build on their knowledge of properties and operations of whole numbers to begin their work with numerical expressions. So here I just gave you some examples for grade 4 of what you would deal with numerical expressions. So you've got the addition and subtraction, and then you've got the multiplication and addition. So these are some of the expressions, and that I just wanted to verify that or support that by putting the skills and procedures that the students are going to create those various expressions. Now, what I haven't got here, and you're going to have to work on, is creating these expressions. So, and reading them. So there's we can say 2 plus 5, create the expression, create an expression for 3 plus 4, create an expression for 12, take away 5, and so on. Now, and then this one, the last one, create an expression for 2 times 3 plus 1. So you have to be verbalizing them all the time. And there's going to be another way to say these expressions, but you have to verbalize all the time so that they can create them. So say it first, model it, have them model it, say it, and then write it down, and then evaluate. So we say 2 plus 2 has a value of 4 because we're working with expressions. So I'm just going to suggest to try not to have a tendency, even though the students will, to say 2 plus 2 equals 4. That is correct, no doubt about it, but we're looking at that word evaluate. So 2 times 3 plus 2 has a value of 8, or the product of 2 times 3 plus 2, you can say it that way. There's many ways we'll look at that, has a value of 8. And then I've got it here again to use anchor charts and provide visuals for that. We're not going to do this activity, but I put this activity twice. So here's a good little activity that you can do, and the site is at the bottom, and you'll get that. So and you can do so much with it. So what numerical expressions can you create with these numbers? Find 2 different ways. So you have lots of options. And then then you have the option box, and you're going to see later on, I'm going to increase that as we go through the grades. So use 2 operations in an expression, use 3 if you can. So this is an activity that you can do with your students all the time and use it like a number talk, but you need to try it yourself so that you can see how it works. Okay, so here's some examples. So I'm going to look at evaluate, and I know it may sound like I'm jumping a little bit, and my apologies to Dean. I think of you often, Dean, after you had asked me to slow down a little bit, and then Tammy yesterday was so nice and slow in the way she spoke. I tend to get excited and speak quickly. So Dean, I'm hoping that I'm not too fast for you today. So here's an example of evaluate. And again, you're going to see the visual. So here we have, and I'm going to say 10 take away 4, then add 2. But another way is to say subtract 4 from 10, then add 2. This is for you right now. If you say, well, there's no way my students are going to be able to do that, but you have to just think about that. You subtract 4 from 10, and then you add 2. So we're going to start with the 10, and I use this with the students and to show the teachers this as well. Lots of visuals, and these are just little circles that you take. Remember, in subtraction, I just put that we start off with the total quantity, and in this case, that's the way we're going to interpret subtraction for these expressions. So we have 10. And then I'm going to take away 4. So that leaves me with 6. And these are not difficult to do. I just copy and paste these little circles. Then I'm going to add 2. And what you may want to do is, as you go along, is to highlight. I didn't do that in here. So we start with the 10. So we're going to, or underline the 10. Then we're going to take away 4. So the students don't forget where they are. This is 2 operations. And at that stage, at that age, it may be too much for them. Or maybe you can highlight it with different colors so that they can see that. I should have done that because I see now that to follow the symbolic to the visual, it might be distracting for some. So the value is 8. So, and then I probably would have said the value of 10 take away 4 plus 2 is 8, and then always get them to verbalize it themselves. When they do these, they say it, they show it, and they verbalize it. Okay. Now, here's another example. I'll just start with the first one. So now we're looking at something with multiplication. And again, I'm jumping it. We've worked with the fact that in our rules, if we have an anchor chart, that multiplication and division is always first left to right. So you can see for you, there's 2 ways to look at it. I'm going to go to the second one. Multiply 4 times 3 first, and then add 5. So that's one way you can say it. You probably have, there are other ways to say this phrase as well, or expression, or add 5 to 4 plus times 3. Again, what if you see that the students are going to say 5 plus 4 times 3, but we want them to understand what to do first. We want them to think about 4 times 3 first. That's why that second one might be better. Multiply 4 times 3 first, and then add 5. And so this is what it looks. So they see this, multiply 4 times 3 first, and then add 5. The value of 5 plus 4 times 3 is 17. Now I'm going to show you another way. And
good question here from Pamela. Would you correct a student who gave the answer and said equals rather than the value is?
That's a very good question. We actually had a big discussion about that. You know what? I probably wouldn't, because the idea is that they did evaluate it right, but I probably would kind of, I would listen, and that very well said that you heard that student say equals, but I probably would want to keep saying the value is, and you can actually put, if you want to on an anchor chart, the value is and the value equals. it is the same, but equals is a more so a statement. Now, if I had put, and I know I'm not answering your question correctly, but if I had put 5 + 4 × 3 equals 17, then of course, but I probably wouldn't, I just would reiterate it and keep verbalizing it all the time. And when the students say it, if they can model it after you, he's not wrong though. He's not. If he wrote that statement down, that student would be absolutely correct. I'm going to show you a misconception here. So I've got this very same expression here, add 5 and then but what is happening is that you're going to get students who are going to start left to right. That will be uppermost on their mind. And so they'll start from the left. And so what they're going to do is add 5 and 4 and then multiply by 3. And you're going to see how very different it looks. So we've got add 5 + 4 and then multiply by 3. And so now the value is 27. And this is just to reiterate that the order in which operations are performed can affect the value of an expression. And, you know, there are rules, there are laws that when you do the order of operations, however you say it to the students, and if you put it on that anchor chart, you don't have to put the letters, but it's so important that they understand that first. And I'm good. Now we're going into grade 5. And we're going to do numerical expressions. It's almost exactly the same as grade 4, but now we're going to begin looking at the parentheses, okay? And there is a discussion about, and you will see some sites, if you Google and you go to some sites, you'll see that they use the word bracket. And years ago when I went to school and when I first taught it, we used the word bracket. But when in our, and I'm not 100%, you know, familiar with literacy, but when we look at writing, usually the rounded brackets are embedded within the square brackets. And it's those square brackets that are called brackets and the curved ones that are called parentheses. And that's why the new curriculum, one of the reasons that they put the word parentheses as opposed to bracket, but you're going to see some sites that will use the word brackets. So now what we're going to do is look at the parentheses. And again, you can see the skills and procedures. They're going to evaluate these expressions. Just a really nice next step from grade 4, but in the parentheses, it's only going to be addition and subtraction. And again, I'm only going to show you a few examples. So there we have, this one is just 3 × 5 + 4. This is the regular from grade 4. So it's 3 × 5, which you do multiplication first, left to right. Then you add 4. Look at me. I put 3 × 4, 5 + 4 = 19. I should have said, I shouldn't say I even do it. We all do it. So the question that was asked about the equal sign, that I should set the value of 3 × 5 + 4 is 19. That's my error, and I have to change this. But now we're going to look at this grade 5 skills and procedures. Now we're going to put the brackets. So we've got the same numbers, but now we've got brackets. So what we're going to do is add 5 + 4 first, and then multiply by 3, which is the order of operations, parentheses first. So that changes it completely to 5 + 4 × 3. And there's the equal that I need to change. So the value of 3 × 5 + 4 is 27, or the value of 5 + 4, 3 times the product. No, 5 + 4 × 3. I better say that, leave it at that, is 27. These are just more examples. We're going into grade 5 and grade 6. So again, we have this. We add 3 + 5. That's the first row in brackets. You have 3 yellow and 5 green, and then we're going to multiply by 4. So the value of that becomes 8 × 4, which is 32. So the value is 32. And then we get into grade 6, and the only difference is we've got now a multiplication in the parentheses. So you can see you start off easy, easy multiplication for the students to do. So the expression of means we should 3 + 5 × 4 in parentheses means we should add 3 to the product of 5 and 4. So, or 5 × 4. Here is a picture. So there you can see that it's 3 plus, initially it's the 5 × 4. I'm just hurrying up. So for you, Lana, so very quickly it's 5 × 4, and then you add the 3. So the value becomes then 23. So it's different. But these little circles, and you can actually show them, you can draw the circles if you don't want to do them, put them on the smartboard or the whiteboard very, very quickly, get the kids to draw them and yourself. So you have that understanding. And that's the grade 5 skills and procedures. Okay. And then the grade 6. And this again, very quickly, just now the next step is, and I'm going to go right to numerical expressions can include powers. That's our knowledge statement. And then we're looking at the order of operations again, performing operations in parentheses followed by the evaluating powers before other operations. And then we're introducing a new word in here, which is simplify. Simplify or evaluate expressions, because you're going to see that word simplify a lot when you deal with fractions, and then evaluate as well. So, and again, understanding that vocabulary. So this is just another example for grade 6, where we have, and we'll get into the powers, where we get multiply 5 times 4 first, then multiply the product by 2. So this is where I put 2 multiplications in this. So we have 5 times 4, and we're going to multiply by that by 2. So the value then of 2 times 5 times 4 is parentheses 5 times 4 is 40. The value of is 40. There's where I did this correct. Okay. And now when we look at powers, there's lots of different ways you can say it, or there's a few different ways I'll say that you can say it. So the meaning of powers or exponents is the repeated multiplication. So 5 squared is 5 times 5, and that showing that area model really, really helps. And if you're going to do cubes, I probably myself wouldn't go any further until they see that pattern. Sometimes there's some visuals where they actually show the cube, where you see the 3 dimensions, and then so because you're multiplying the 3 numbers. And if you do that often enough, if you do get something that goes to the power of 4, you know that that's a pattern of repeated multiplication. So it's 5 squared, 5 squared, 5 to the power 2, 5 to the second power. 5 to the second power is just a way for you to know that it can be said, but we usually just say 5 squared. And again, the square model, there's a definition for it. And you have those definitions. Those will also be in your interactive year at a glance that we showed you. When you click on the word exponent, there'll be a definition there as well. And again, just some quick examples. So we have the brackets, because they're going to get both the brackets and the powers. So they'll do the 7 squared first is 49. Then you can see the steps. So they're going to add 1. Sorry, at the beginning, they're going to add 1 to 6 plus 7 squared. And that I put that there because I need to understand what that expression means or what it's saying. And then I'll go back. So then they're going to figure out that 7 squared is 49, add those, and then come up with a value of 56. And again, the same thing with.
Sorry for interrupting. Question: is it clear in the curriculum that we only do squares and cubes in grade 6?
Yeah, you know what? No, it's not. A good question. It's not, but I'm saying that my personal suggestion would be work with squares and cubes a lot, so that they see that pattern, so that if they get to anything, as I've said, and the visual of the area model and the cube is really good, just so that they can see that it's 3 numbers. But the idea is to work on that pattern of repeated multiplication, so that if you should be able to give them 2 to the power of 10, and they should be able to go 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. The reason that I'm going to say that they're not going to do it is because the multiplication becomes cumbersome. They don't want you to deal with that. It's the process of and understanding what powers are. So no, they're not straight in that, but I would work on squares and cubes a lot. And then the other 2 examples that they're very similar. You're going to work with the exponent first. You're going to do 3 squared, and then you're going to get them to expand that, figure out the answer that it's 9, and then multiply and get your value. Okay. And then I put this one at the end just as a reminder, because sometimes we get the students, myself and or the teacher, the students get so focused that on the exponent, let's say, or the parentheses, that they forget all the other parts of it. And that's the beauty of it going slowly. I apologize, I'm talking so fast to go through this. Okay, I think, and then now I'm just gonna, this is, we're not gonna do this, but this is the same activity I showed you earlier, but you can see now into grade 5 and 6, I added options. So I can do the same thing. I can change my numbers if I want, but now I can say, use parentheses, use a power. I can see that I've got some errors there that have to be fixed. I was trying to do this quickly. I don't know if it's parentheses with an E or an I. No, I'm all mixed up. But you can see the same activity can be used through all the 3 grades. Now, the only thing that I'm showing here is these 2 slides, but you'll get those. So these are slides that I give in my session for algebra, and you'll get those slides. They have all of the sites that I used today, plus extras, articles, virtual manipulative sites, everything. And those will trade books that you can use, and those will be shared with you. Okay. And I'm so sorry I spoke so quickly.
You're a gem.
It's too fast.
Oops.
Oh, so I'm going to stop sharing.
Yes, please. And
Thank you all for listening. Oh my gosh. Kathy, your background is the Utah Conservatory. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I do Zooms with people all over the world. So I
Oh.
put on scenes of Edmonton.
What a great idea. And Dean, I hope I wasn't too fast.
No, it was perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
oops. Now I'm going to share my screen and get this going here. Okay. Wow, I almost shut down the meeting for everyone. Crazy. Where's my, how come I can't share it? There it is. There it is. And so you should see, yes, I do believe you are seeing my screen now. So I'm just going to go into slideshow mode. And then, okay, awesome. And then I just want to get my other screen up here so that
And while you're doing that, Yolanda, I'll just answer that question of Jennifer. She's asking students allowed to use calculators. If you're asking about this, the part that I just did, the answer will be no, because the order of operations for grade 6 will be on part A. If you're, I would suggest for that particular learning outcome, you do not use a calculator. Okay. Now, it doesn't say anywhere in the curriculum for not to use calculators for solving problems or real life situations where we have large numbers. Doesn't say anything about that, but for this part I would say no.
There is, if you look at the front matter of the New Learn Alberta curriculum, the subject introduction, at the very bottom, it says, note, learning outcomes in the mathematics K to grade 6 curriculum are intended to be achieved without the support of calculators.
Right. And you know what? We had a discussion about that. That's a good question, Anita, and a good comment. But there are exceptions to that, because when the students are working with, and they actually acknowledge that real world application in a discussion only, though, it was only in a discussion, that there are times when the student will have to do that. Okay. And one of the particular setting that we were using, the discussion centered around a real life example with data and percentage. So again, maybe that's something that ERLC, maybe what we need to do is pursue that and see if there's any statement that's going to come out, but that's a good comment.
Okay, and Michael, you had a question about will one of the consortiums be providing support for combined classrooms? You know, this is exactly what we need to know, and I've heard this many times today that we need support for the combined classes. So we will put it out there to our math consultants around the province in the consortium, and we will definitely get these sessions moving for you so that we can help you out. And this, I know, the sooner the better. So
Yeah.
that is something we will put out there immediately to our, to the ladies in the group. And
Yeah.
I say ladies, because we don't have any men in the group that,
Yeah,
but we sure would love some.
right.
And
And
then,
just the one more question with the order of operations, and that's it, Yolana.
uh,
It says, the question was from Robin, will it be on part A of the PAT now? I'm assuming it will be, because it is grade 6, so I'm assuming that it will be on part A.
okay. And so let's go talk about manipulatives. And on this slide, I've put pictures of my 3 very favorite manipulatives, because I personally think these 3 manipulatives we will use a lot in grade 4 to 6. And so I wanted to use them in today's session, but I can tell you we are not going to get through the slides in 45 minutes. And so please know that upcoming session will be on fractions, because that is something that I know that is going to be needed. Okay. So why do we want to use manipulatives in grade 4 to 6? Well, number one, it really is the foundation for all understanding. When we want to learn for understanding so that we have numerate students, we want to use concrete things. Concrete is the manipulative. It is the thing that we can touch, we can move around. We want to move to the pictorial, but really hard to picture something if you have not actually moved it around. And an example of this would be, I can tell you that I have 3 daughters. Every one of you in this room right now has a different picture of my daughters. You all are picturing a different type, different person, what this person looks like. And you don't know them, but I know Kathy has seen 1 or 2 of my daughters. And so when she is picturing them, she probably is picturing, has a pretty good picture of my daughters, but she hasn't seen them in a long time. So she may be picturing them, but not 100% accurately. It is really important that we do the concrete more often, so that when they see the pictorial in the books, in the worksheets, they actually know exactly what it is that they're looking at. And then once they understand the concrete and the pictorial, then they go to the symbolic understanding. All 3 of those together, when they are blended, that's when we have students that are learning for understanding. And I have to tell you, in 2006, when I started working with the last curriculum, I know that my students that were at the top of the scale, that were getting 90s and 100s on the exams, hated the concrete and the pictorial, hated it. And when I said to them, you know, I have to tell you this, if you cannot show me concretely what this looks like, I don't think you really understand it. And I think that when you're doing it symbolically, I have a feeling that you're doing it by memorization, not by understanding. And so when I talked to these kids, like at that point, it was amazing how they changed their attitude towards the manipulatives. They love them because they also got challenged with them. So taking this from a cute little website I found, it's called TLJ Consulting. She put on 5 reasons for using manipulatives in math. The number 1 is that it provides a bridge between the concrete and the abstract levels. Number 2, it can survive. It'll serve as a model that students that supports their supports the students as they think about, remember, and communicate about the math that is being studied. They provide another representation for the math being studied. Rather than just the picture, they actually have the concrete. And they also support student engagement and differentiation in the classroom. And I often will get, as a consultant, how do I differentiate for all the different levels of learning in my classroom? And my number one answer is get those manipulatives out. Then you really see the different levels of understanding in the classroom. And I can tell you, I have a niece who's now in grade 6. And when I was working with her in grade 1, I brought out these things. It's called a rec and rec, for those of you who have never worked in Division 1. And these are great for understanding numbers to 20. And she was a kid that was using these all the time. And now when I'm asking her, like, for example, questions like 45 times 16, I noticed that my niece, she looks up into the sky and she's doing something in the sky. And then she says, 720. I said, how did you get that? And she goes, I'm picturing my rec and rec, and I'm picturing the expression, and I'm picturing quantities, and I'm moving them around. And I said, so what did you do? And she said, well, 4516, I knew that that's the same as 90 times 8. And so I knew that that was the same as 9 10 rods. And I was like, wow, this is brilliant. This is
Wow.
awesome. I was so pleased to hear that, because now I know that my little niece who's in grade 6 really truly understands quantities.
You have a
So-
comment? Oh, sorry,
Okay.
just a comment saying that the grade 8 teacher, this Linda's school uses rec and recs for fractions.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it, Linda. By the way, Linda, you had the best you had some awesome insights during the last 4 days, and I sure appreciate your comments. And then the other thing is manipulatives can give students ownership of their own learning, which is so important. When kids have that ownership, it is brilliant. And again, I'm going to give you another example. My own daughter, who is now 24, who is graduating from nursing. Yay, this month. Next month, I'm so excited. Anyway, she's my baby. But when she was in grade 4, they were doing area models and she was constantly counting the squares. So for example, if something was 4 times 8, the width was 4 and the length was 8. At the beginning, she was just counting the squares inside. And she had these squares that she was like, and I gave her squares to work with. And so she was making the area. And then one day she said to me, Mom, did you know it was really easy to do area? All you need to do is multiply how many it goes across length by the width, and you get the area of a rectangle. And I said, oh yeah, that's awesome. She goes, Mom, you know what? I went through the entire textbook and not once does it say area is equal to length times width. And I think you should phone Pearson and let them know that there's actually a formula. Kids don't have to count all those squares. And I'm like, wow, this kid has ownership. She owns that formula. And I have to tell you, in 2006, when the last curriculum came out, Alberta Education came out and said to the publishers, no formulas in the textbooks. And so in the old textbooks that we had from 2006, like Math Makes Sense, there was no formulas in the textbooks. And so, but that's an example of really owning her ownership. Okay. Amy says the extension set of pattern blocks called Deci blocks allows the yes. And you know what? I totally love them, and I'm going to talk about those today. Thank you. Okay. So the scope and sequence of fractions in yes, you are able to teach the formulas, but with understanding. And it's still, we have to go back to one of the things that Tammy talked about yesterday. The word is investigates. And so when we're investigating it, they have to investigate why there's that formula. And I don't know if I actually like to believe that when we use the manipulatives, we own those formulas because we find those, we've investigated so many times that we own them rather than giving them the formula up front and saying, work with it.
Yeah.
But on the scope and sequence that we put out for on the ERL, on the ARPDC website, you'll see that fractions, the concept of the fraction concepts are new at every grade level. In grade, and when I first, and I have to be really honest, when I saw this last May, I panicked and I said, come on, grade 1's doing fractions. Now that I've been working with teachers across the province using these grade 1, 2, and 3, yeah, it's okay. We can do it. It's not that hard because in grade 1, they're talking about 1/2. Equal groups and 2 equal groups. And I don't know if you've ever heard kids say, you can have the bigger half. That's kids that don't understand. That's kids that do not understand what does a half mean. So in grade 1 now, they're really talking about 2 equal groups. In grade 2, something that has been missing from our curriculum for a long time is the term unit fractions. And a unit fraction is now taught in grade 2, where the denominator is anything up to 10. So for example, 1/10, 1/9, 1/8, 1/7, 1/6, and counting by unit fractions. So what they do is they go 1 1/4, 2 1/4, 3 1/4, 4 1/4. They do a lot of that in grade 2. In grade 3, now we're doing equivalent fractions with denominators up to 12. So kids that have actually been doing unit fractions in grade 2, so for example, they get up to 2 1/4, they find that 2 1/4 actually is the same as 1/2. And they already started to see those things, but in grade 3, then they do a lot more of that. In grade 4 now, we now start doing equivalent fractions that are created by partitioning equal parts of the fraction. So for example, when we have when we're doing halves, what we can say is how many different ways can we also break down the half? And then we also talk about decimal fraction understanding. Now, I love the fact that decimal fractions is now, actually the word is in the curriculum, because decimal fractions are fractions that have a denominator that is a multiple of 10. And I'll talk about that in a second. And then grade 5 is fractions that are greater than 1. So again, we have started talking about unit fractions in grade 2. So they did get to, for example, I have 3 1/4, 4 1/4, 5 1/4, 6 1/4. And so they're already seeing that I have more than a whole. And then in grade, again, but now we're really going to work on the greater than 1, talking about improper fractions and mixed numbers. And grade 6, we talk about fractions that represent quotients and converting fractions to decimals. And yes, Robin, you're right. We do have multiplying fractions in grade 6, and we have adding and subtracting fractions in grade 6. But we also have adding and subtracting fractions.
Come do some math.
Pardon me? Okay. Sorry, and then we also have in grade 4, we're relating fractions and percentages and decimals. We are in grade 5, we are doing common denominators only for adding and subtracting. But then in grade 6, we start adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. But I hope you can see that it really builds slowly across grade 1 to 6. And honestly, if we stick to our concept in each grade, then it will be easier once they get to grade 6. Now, just one thing, if you're teaching a grade 5, 6 split, you can see that you're doing adding and subtracting fractions. And you know what? Stick to those common denominators for a very long time before you move the grade 6s into the different denominators. And you'll see that in grade 6, we're not multiplying fractions, we're multiplying fractions by a natural number. So we're saying, for example, we have 3 times 3/4, a whole number times a fraction. Okay. Again, I kind of laugh because in grade 5, we start doing fractions within 100. Well, I think that people panic on that, but I want you to know that really stick to the decimal fractions because that'll make it easier. But yeah, kids need to know that fractions, you can keep splitting things into equal parts, and you can go up to lots of denominators. And I saw, like, my friend Dave Martin, he put on a thing, and he said, like, really, in real honesty, do we ever do like 34/75? Not really, we don't. So we want kids to know that we can do that, but we don't really want them to work with those. Developmentally, you're right. The progression, Kathy, is appropriate, but it'll be tough. And yes, Judy, at this point, they are going to be retaught in junior high, but we don't know what'll be coming up next with, is there a new curriculum? I have no idea. I have not seen it yet. Okay, so when we look at the cusps for grade 4, there, the big thing is the understanding is that there's many equivalent fractions that represent the same number, and exactly one of the infinitely many fractions in simplest form is the one in simplest form. And so skills and procedures is modeling the equivalent fractions, determining the fractions. All of these are really important. And I'm going to just go through these quickly. Sorry, Betty, because Betty made me some beautiful, beautiful slides here, but I really want to get to using those manipulatives and not run out of time. But grade 4, they're doing equivalence. Grade 5, they're talking about improper fractions. We're adding and subtracting fractions with common denominators. And I want to show you how easy it becomes when we're using manipulatives. Grade 6, they relate fractions to quotients, and they add and subtract fractions with denominators within 100. Okay, and also we interpret the multiplication of natural numbers by fractions. So the first one that I want to work with is fraction blocks, pattern blocks, whatever you want to call them. Now, when I first started using these, there were a lot of questions with this because we seem to want to always use the yellow as the whole. Why is that? Well, because it's the biggest one. And so what I want to talk about is it's really important when you're using pattern blocks that you use each one of these as the whole. Because we want kids to know that when we're comparing parts, it really does depend on how big the whole is. So for example, before I just want to show you something here. Okay. I'm just going to okay. So can you, I hope you're seeing a different set of slides right now that says breakout room day 4.
Yes, we are.
Okay, awesome. So I just want to show you, we're going to go into breakout rooms right away for about 10 minutes. And what I want you to do is in your oh, Amy, I love, if this equals 1, then blank is equal to what? Love it. And that's what we're going to be doing. But this here, you're going to, each group breakout room, for example, this is breakout room 1, you're going to receive 4 different sets of slides. Actually, you get 5. And then breakout room 2, you will also get 5 slides. Breakout room 3, you will get 5 slides. Breakout room 4, you get your slides, and there's enough for every breakout room. What you're going to do is you'll get this, and I would like you to name each one of these fractions. If the yellow is 1, then the red represents what? And so in here you would write, it represents 2. But at the bottom, you're going to show me, you're going to prove it to me, how does it equal half? And it's very easy, you just drag and drop. Okay, so if the yellow is 1, then what does the blue represent? 1/3. Group 1, I'm doing this for you. And so you don't have to, nobody has to do this one. If the yellow is 1, then the green is a half. I'm sorry, is 1/6. So we'll see that these are all unit fractions in this case. The second slide, oops, this is not 1. Please note that this is not 1. I made a mistake on each, I copied the wrong slide. Okay, so now if this is 1, if the red is 1, then what is the yellow? And what you do is you drag down the red to prove to me, what is it? You can turn it. Oops. So if that's 1, then that means this has to be 2. When you get to the third slide, again, this is wrong. This is, you can say this is 1. And the fourth slide is this is 1. And then when you get to the 5th slide, this 5th slide, this is 1. This whole picture is 1. And what I would like you to do when you look at this whole picture as 1, tell me if that whole picture is 1, what does green represent? What does the blue represent? What does the red represent? What does the yellow represent of the whole? So,
Yolanda,
any questions?
oh, there was a question about, will they have access to this site?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? You are going to actually go into the chat right now. And I recommend you go there to your chat right now and you do open these slides. You do open these slides because I'm going to put you into a breakout room for 10 minutes that you're going to be working with each other to do your 5 slides. So when you get into the breakout room, when it says breakout room, and please note what number, oh, thanks. He says, yeah, sorry, thank you. Now you're all editors. So all you have to do is just go up and refresh. And then let's just go into the breakout rooms. Oops, come on. And then how many people do we have here today?
66.
Okay, so let's make. And then I will go and see if there's rooms that only have 1 person, and I'll put you into another room. Ready? Let's go. Hey, Betty, most rooms have 3 or 4 people that joined.
Do you want
Um,
me to join a room?
no.
Okay.
But I'm going to, oh no,
There's, I don't, I see 3. Oh, here's 2,
can you join room 2 for a second?
room
And
2.
just ask them if they'd let, oh, yeah, so you know what? I'm going to move to room 3.
Even. There's only 2 people in 12.
Okay,
I'll go to 12.
no, there's, oh, yeah. Move to,
And as soon as you said breakout, did you notice about 4 people left?
yeah. Two. 4, 2. 2.
Right. You have a good day.
Move to room 9. Move to. Move to. Okay, we've got at least 3 in each room now.
Great job, Yolana.
And Betty,
And Betty. Not here right now, though.
huh?
I think
Oh.
she went to breakout.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to force anyone to go into a breakout room if they don't want to. That's fine.
Yeah, and they may have just stepped away for a minute or.
Breakout room 5. I think I should join them for a while because it seems they may be struggling. I'll be back.
Yolanda, I just, Alana Reason just entered the Zoom, so I don't know, Alana, if you can hear us, if you'd like to join a breakout.
Yeah, I was supposed to be in a group 38 or something, but I couldn't access it. So I just thought I would exit out and try to come in again.
Okay,
Our internet is,
Our internet is apparently having issues, my husband just said.
yeah.
okay, so we'll let you just stay here for a bit. 'cause
Okay,
We're almost done.
okay,
Yeah, it's our internet, huh?
okay.
I can't connect to anything. If you do.
I'm going to bring them all back because we're gonna run out of time, big time.
I have had several requests from French immersion teachers for the split class. So
Yes,
like our team will be working on that for both French immersion and regular.
yeah,
I didn't realize there were so many split grades in, like, I thought it was a French immersion francophone thing.
no. No, it's everywhere.
Yeah. So I think we could develop a good series for that for sure next year.
Did I stop? Oh, I did stop.
You did.
sharing
Yeah,
my
we're coming
screen.
back.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I have to apologize. I left the yellow hexagon at the bottom of every slide, and yes, we needed to remove that. But I just wanted to talk about the next one. If an example, if this green is 1, that would mean that this blue is 2 over 1, not over, sorry, 2 ones. This red would be 3 ones. This yellow would have been 6. If the blue was 1, then the green is 1/2 of the blue. The red is 3/2 of the blue. So I showed it with both the green and the blue, and the yellow is 3 wholes. This fraction talk, did anyone get to it? Robin's group did,
Yeah.
anybody else?
Yes, Chelsea and I did.
And how did you find that?
I started with the biggest part is the yellow part. How many yellow parts can I make with all the other parts?
Okay,
And I can make 4 yellow parts out of the other parts. together with the middle one. So the middle one, the yellow part must be 1/4.
right?
And then I went with, well, the red is half of 1/4, so it's 1/8. The blue is 1/3 of 1/4, is 1/12. And the green is half of 1/12 is 1/24.
The green is 1/24th?
Yes.
No. How many greens? Okay, so the greens is the 24ths. How many greens do you have?
Oh, in the total is 3.
3 24ths.
Oh, that's how you wanted to see. Okay. I
So
was
the-
like, one green part represents something, but okay. So now we have to calculate how many green ones are in that whole thing. Okay.
Right. So
Yes.
now it's 3 24ths or it's 1/8. Right?
Yes. Okay. So
And
if
so how
we're
did you
going
figure
by
out the blue?
how many of the same color are there, then yes. Okay. Got it.
Okay. And so the blue would be what? Julie?
So the
Go ahead.
blue one is either 3/12 or it goes down to a quarter.
Right. Or it could also be 6 24ths, correct?
Yeah.
Or
They're all
3
equivalent
12ths.
fractions.
And so do you see how all of a sudden now this one here, we are talking about equivalent fractions also.
Mhm. Yep.
This I take from, I took from Fraction Talks. And they've got a lot of these things made up that this is the whole. So if that's the whole, what is the red part of the whole? What is the blue part of the whole? What is the green part of the whole? And so the red part, what is the red part of the whole? Of
I
this?
think what stops me in that question, what is the red part? I read that as, or I listened to it and heard what is one red part of the whole.
Oh, I see. No, what the total red, all of the red.
Yes.
What would be a
Okay.
better way of saying that? How could I say that better?
What does the total of red parts represent from the whole?
Total of red parts represent of the whole.
Or what does all the red represent? So all the red represent of the whole.
Or how much of the whole is red?
Or what fraction of the
Yes.
whole is red?
What fraction of the whole
That's
is
right.
red?
Yeah. And of the
I
whole,
like that.
very, very important. Very well said. Yeah.
Yes, our language is so important how we do this.
Mhm.
'Cause absolutely. So these slides are yours. And so before we, what I'll do is I will make sure I go back to this and I make these parts all the same so they are, it's better for you to work with your students. I can't believe it's 9:58. I'm going to run through these things. Again, I'm going to give you the website to the Pearson Mathology, virtual manipulatives, because they are free for everyone to use. But these are those Cuisenaire rods or the relational rods that some people call them relational rods, some people call them Cuisenaire rods. The reason I love them is all of a sudden you have at least 10 different denominators, depending on whatever you choose to be the whole. You can just go to this. And for example, I can make the yellow be the whole. So the yellow is now my whole. So what is each part of the whole? You can take, when you're in here, you can get rid of the fractions that are on top. I got to tell you, if you are in the classroom with students, please use the concrete materials. I find that I've been presenting now since COVID started virtually, and it's great to have all these virtual manipulatives, especially when the kids are doing homework. You don't want to send home the concrete. They're great, but you know what? Give the kids time to actually play with the manipulatives. Okay, and there's fraction strips. And then the thing that I wanted to mention is the word decimal fraction. Decimal fraction is a fraction where the denominator, that's the bottom number, is a power of 10. It is 10, 100, 1000. So when you say the fraction properly, and what I mean is, please be very cognizant of how you say the fraction. Please do not say 53 over 100. That is a relational, that is a positional of the number. We want to say it properly. So when I say 53 hundredths, I should be able to see that that number can be written immediately as a fraction or as a decimal. And also when I'm saying that decimal, 0.53, please don't say it that way. That again is a positional number. So for example, if I have the number 53, I don't say 5 before 3 or 3 after 5. I say 53. I call the number, I say the number properly. So when I have a decimal fraction like this, I say it 1/10. That in words, if I say it properly, we can see that it is either a decimal or a fraction. 100th, 1000th. So those are in grade 4, we start talking about decimal fractions. So when I say 42 hundredths, my students should be able to say, well, 42 hundredths, I know I can write that as a decimal or as a fraction. And my best one for that is using the place value blocks or base 10 blocks in our classroom. And I'm going to just fly through these because it's 2 minutes after 10. Summer sessions to watch for ARPDC is we are repeating this 4-day workshop in August. You're more than welcome to come back if you wish. Tammy is doing sessions, yesterday's session that is related strictly to each grade level. On September 26th, she's doing grade 4. September 27th, she's doing grade 5. September 28th, she's doing grade 6. She's also repeating yesterday's session on another day, but since you've already been at it, and if you teach grade 4 and you really would like more information on all the grade 4 verbs, please go to her session on the 26th. Stay tuned. There's a lot more out there. There is sorry, that's Tammy's. Oh no, where's those slides? Someone took them out.
Oh, no.
Oh, they're gone. I must have put him in the room. Oh, you know what? I put him into the breakout. I mean, into the slides that we're sharing. And what the heck? How come I did that? I don't know.
Lana,
Yes.
do you want to take a minute and look for it and let me screen share? And I just want to show people that the toolkits and resources are available in French on the ARPDC website.
Right, and you, Madeline, just that next slide, I had inserted that, but that's okay. Just to let you know that in September, in the fall, the sessions on specifically to the learning outcomes to watch for those, but that's okay. Watch for sessions specific to the organizing idea and the learning outcomes per grade.
Yes, per grade. And so I just want to let you know that we have, I said ladies, and we have now 8 ladies across the province that are there to support you. Myself and Tammy, you've already met, and we're from ERLC, but we do have a fourth lady joining us this year, Candace Ketza from ERLC. In CARC, that's the Central Alberta Regional Consortium, we have Chris Zarski. Learning Network, we have Jackie Ratkovic. Southern Alberta, we have Kathy Charkin. And in Calgary Regional, we have Wanda DeCant. So you can email any one of us for support. But please do watch the province for sessions. Hold on a second here. Each will be unpacking the curriculum for grade 4, 5, and 6 in September to November. Each session will deal with an organizing idea and their learning outcomes. So for example, I'll be doing some more sessions on fractions, but fractions in grade 4, fractions in grade 5, fraction in grade 6. It'll be a focus on really understanding the learning outcome, the concept and the vocabulary for that grade level. So please watch your consortium, the sessions that are out there. And like what we have decided is we are offering sessions to the entire province, not only to the like for example, Betty and I and Tammy will not just be doing just to Edmonton. They are open to anyone in the province, and they're also open to all of our schools that are international international schools, because they are following the Alberta curriculum. So
Great.
here,
I'm just gonna add the French. We have Elise Morin.
right.
Available to support French immersion math, K-6 across the province, and Isabelle Bujold available for K-6 Francophone.
And I'm just going to add one thing. Finally, I think we didn't get a chance to get your feedback, but I think you will receive an email, and maybe that'll give you a little bit of time to think, because I'm listening to these comments, Yolana and Madeline. We've got comments in the chat room about, we only got a taste of it. We could use a half a day. So we're going to send out a little very brief survey to you saying, what are the topics that you want? Even what days would you want it? Maybe you want a weekend or a morning. I mean, you can go that far. Half a day, professional learning day. Let's get that feedback from you, and then we'll go from there. That would be very, very helpful. So watch for that email.
Oh, survey's already there. Awesome. So yes, it's so important that you tell us, what do you want? You can also add it into the chat here. I can also add a slide to the shared slides, and you can put it in there so that Betty and I can see it. So for example, here, I can just put in a insert. They are here. Let me just do this.
And even for some of you, face to face, I don't know, maybe some of you, you're ready for that, or you're open to that. I'm quite willing to do anything. I think we have a hand raised here. I think Mireille.
Yes, face to face would be great, but I think maybe you guys can offer blended options where people who are close to you are in front of you. My other question would be, are there sessions to still join for the K-3 curriculum?
Yes, and we've talked about, you'll have to look on the site to see what's available there. And we just had a chat about that yesterday, reminding ourselves not to forget about, don't focus so much on the 4 to 6 because it's new, but remember that those K-3 still need that support. So well said.
And I saw that 4, 5, and 6 might have separate sessions coming up. Just wondering if that's going to be the same for K-3, but I guess we'll have to watch the websites as well.
Watch for that, yeah. And they will be combined as well for 4 to 6. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
And Mary, you have your hand up?
Yeah, Ulana, can you please give us access to the slides? It's restricted right now.
If you read, it is now anyone.
Oh, now it is. Okay, I'll refresh. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for letting me know. So I did add a slide to slide 13. I'll make it 3 slides. If you wanted to add things in there right now of what you would really like a session on, please do so. Because that, Betty and I will see that immediately. And Madeline, and so we can work on something that we can start presenting in September, October. Yes, Mary, you have a question?
Sorry,
No,
was that?
Yes, that, yeah.
Sorry,
And
hold hand.
be specific, like if you need something, the new teacher one, like
Oh, yes.
think of everything that you
Well,
need.
where would you order like the concrete manipulatives? Like I know you can make them with like paper, and having the students make their own manipulatives would be a good teachable moment too. But what if your school does not yet have manipulatives like those relational rods? And
I like ordering stuff from Spectrum.
okay,
They have beautiful websites. Thank you, Madeline. No, you should be able to refresh your browser. These are now, if you look, I did put anyone with the link can view. And I'll be adding these slides from let's see, where is it?
Yolanda, it says that they can view. Can they edit?
No, they can make a copy and they can edit.
so then how are people editing and
How
adding
are they
sessions?
adding? Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you cannot add sessions to your own copy. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I'll make it edit. You are right. Yeah, everyone can edit.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. That was important.
Thanks, Veronica. Thank you for all the thank yous. Yeah.
And I'll just change these right now so that they are all correct.
And I hope that as she's doing this, you all have some time to relax now, take a break. Maybe go somewhere or even just sit in your backyard and relax.
And don't forget to complete your survey.
Yeah, lots to sink in. You're right, Alana.
Is the survey online or you're going to email it?
It is emailed to the address that you used to sign up for our workshop. Oops. Any other questions? We're still hanging in there if you want to ask any questions of us.
Ilana,
Yes,
will we get today's recordings later on this afternoon? Is that what'll
you
happen?
bet. I'm also going to add them right here. I will add session 4 recording here so you do have them all in one place.
Okay, so that means I can go back at any point in time, watch the whole session, like session 1 on my own, and add to my notes and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Pam. Absolutely. And then I'll also put the links that were shot here on slide day 4. I'll do that right away. Here.
Sorry, there's lots of information to take on at once.
Yes.
It is.
And then when you've got the ELA afterwards, it's like just extra on top of trying to figure out what you thought.
Honestly, like I'm just overwhelmed by the amount of people that actually came. Like it, honest, when Madeline talked to us, I said, who's gonna come in July, Madeline? Go ahead, Erin.
Yeah, go ahead, Erin. Yeah.
Hey, Madeline, I'm teaching grade 4 French immersion. I'm just wondering, you had mentioned that there were French immersion resources. I'm just wondering if you had a link for those that you could put in the chat or direct me to where.
Okay, I'll show you right now online. I'm gonna go to arpdc.ab.ca. And when you open that up, I'm still sharing my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So access the new no. Where is it here?
Français.
But no, I just want to first go to the new curriculum resources.
Okay.
Okay, I go to the new curriculum resources.
It's
And I
on the-
can see here, I can switch, I can go up to the bottom, top right-hand corner and click on Au Français. And I open the French. And okay, Madeline, speak in French now.
That is the toolkit. Stop. If you click that first one right there, that's the grade 4 to 6 toolkit in French.
Okay. Perfect. I had found that. I was just wondering if there's a different, something different. So no, I did find that. So that's great.
There's more. There's more here. If you
Oh, there's a lot of resources posted.
Lots of, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
And-
I had found this site, so I was just wondering whether there was something different that I wasn't aware of. So no, this is fantastic.
Right. Now, Yolana, if you could just click on general oops, that's okay.
Okay, no, I can.
Click on general PD resources. So I didn't get a chance to show that on the first day. In particular, that infusing Indigenous knowledge, like there's some really, still some general, and it's still aligned with the previous program of studies, but generally speaking, it's got some really great ideas that you can use.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. I have another question, mostly because I'm new to teaching. So the way that they have it laid out in a lot of the year plans, the sequence that they go in, is there a specific reason for that? Like, why would you not just start with adding and subtraction, multiplication, division, then add in those other things afterwards? I'm just wondering, like, the reasoning behind the sequence that they've chosen.
Because some of the outcomes build upon the other outcomes, like you need to have the foundation from another outcome before you teach the outcome that you want to teach.
Right.
Like, for example, with adding and subtracting, you want to make sure that the kids understand numbers before you go into the actual operations.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering, like, when they talk about adding and subtracting decimals, do you return to decimals once you've done fractions?
Well, again, depending on what grade you're in, like in grade 4, we talk about decimal fractions. So that's where I would start.
But you can't really talk about fractions until you've talked about division and, you know. Or are you able to? I'm just
Yeah, you
confused
can.
on why they chose that.
Like if I had the decimal 5300ths plus 4200ths,
Yes, you could do that.
I can if kids understand their decimals, then they can actually add those either as fractions or as decimals.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, Yolanda, I'll just add to that because that's a good question. I actually asked that very same question about the interactive, the year at a glance, because I wasn't sure how that came about. And I was told that when there was a group of teachers from throughout the province for the various grades, when they came together to create that document, it was based on their advice. And what I always use is I look at the learning progressions as well. So Yolanda is saying that there's some things there's prior knowledge that's absolutely needed. But for some of those, like you'll see in some of the grades, you'll see the number, and then they do algebra, grade 6, they put coordinate geometry. That was a decision that was made by that group of teachers who wrote that document. Now, if you look at other districts, we work with some up north, there's one in the city, their pacing guide is a little bit different, but none of them stray from the progression of learning that's needed, the prior knowledge that's needed to start for a certain concept. So your first part is different districts do go about it in different ways. And that was the decision made by this group of teachers.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks again, guys. I'm leaving to get ready for my ELA session after.
No, thank you.
Have a great summer.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.